Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and this episode is Wars of Murder. So, here's Kuntarkis.
Okay, this episode is called Wars of Murder, and it covers a few different areas. The first area I need to explain about the word wars and why they use that word. If we went back into human history, or if we were capable of going back into human history, we would discover 100% that in the last 928,000 years, we have had well over 157,000 violent wars. Out of those wars, well over 19 billion human people, including many, many millions of children, were murdered through those wars. Then we come to the present moment, and if we go back, say, to the First World War, to the Second World War, and to all the wars in between up until now, to what's going on, we have to ask ourselves this question: who are creating the wars? And why are they creating the wars? Well, there's a very simple answer. It's called the elite criminals. They control the governments. In fact, at least 97% of governments worldwide. Back in 1947, after the Second World War, and I have mentioned this, but it all fits together, an organization was created, and it was called the World Health Organization. Everybody believes, including all the people of planet Earth, they believe that the World Health Organization was set up so they could call out pandemics if suddenly there was some form of virus or disease occurring within certain sectors of human society, which could spread worldwide. The funny thing is, it's a proven fact, 100% a proven fact, and many people on Earth are now looking at it and talking about it. The World Health Organization is not a positive thing. It is 100% negative. And the people who run it are criminals. And they are basically run by the elite criminals. Now, who are the elite criminals? They are the ones who own all the pharmaceutical companies. They own all the big shopping centers. They own all the supermarkets. Most of them, that is. And they control so much worldwide and have so much say. Now, the elite criminals keep behind the doors. They don't like to stand out. Interestingly, just recently, a thing was sent to me by my wife about the man called Bill Gates and his foundation. You've heard me say this before, but I'll say it again. Bill Gates is a mass murderer, a pedophile. He worships and sacrifices children. He even eats them. So he's a cannibal. All the elite criminals are cannibals, and they are responsible through every single lifetime in creating wars. So having all these wars, all these people dying, all these people going to war, joining the armies, male and female, pointing their rifles, their machine guns, their bombs, whatever, their bazookas, and killing people. And yet, if we did, say, an exposure of the people who are killed, it's not just soldiers. It's innocent victims of the wars who want no part of it. And they are suffering every single war. They're losing their fathers, their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, their uncles, their aunts, their grandparents, their grandmothers, children. And the funny thing is, Children always seem to suffer through the wars badly. And yet children are born to a certain age and they are innocent. And it's the way we bring them up which creates their outer life and the life that they will lead. So we send these children as they grow up, boy, girl, to war, to kill, in the name of a country. But we ask ourselves this question: who's behind it? Again, the elite criminals. They set up the wars. They have for hundreds of thousands of years. And if we could go back as a species called human and look into the nothingness where all the fragments exist through the thoughts and the actions of every single human that has incarnated over the last 928,000 years of human evolution. Now, that's not all. Human evolution goes back to what the seventh dimensional beings have expressed to me. They are a race called the Nipulans, which are billions of light years from planet Earth. I'm very fortunate to be able to be friends with them. And the main reason I am friends is because I come from a world that is very different to planet Earth. And I've been around for 3.83 million years of my own evolution, just like my wife, Kalusha. And we are the children who were born to a being called Yarkus Cardus, who's 19 billion years old in his own evolution. And what he can do is just incredible. And what he does do, he frees all the innocent beings from all different worlds. And he also eliminates all the bad negative energies that have caused all the wars around the universes. And there are trillions of universes in existence. Now, the funny thing is, all these so-called elites own all these different businesses, especially the pharmaceutical companies that are poisoning humanity, especially through the COVID-19, CRAP, which it is, crap. It's a toxic poison, and what's within it, if investigated, would shock the world. Now, the world is waking up in a very big way. Now, Bill Gates is being charged with very serious crimes by the Dutch. The Dutch have discovered and have tremendous amounts of real evidence against him. And when they set up a court hearing, he didn't turn up, nor did any of his lawyers, because he thinks he can do anything. Mass murder, mass rape through the elites, be a pedophile, be a cannibal, spray the air all over the different parts of the world, and cause all the different situations. Now, an interesting situation has just turned up in America. Scientists have now discovered something because they've been told by people who watch birds. There's a thing called the squirrel. The squirrel has been a vegetarian for as long as I could possibly go back and see. Since the spraying of all these poison toxic chemicals in the air, which has been going on in America for many years, these squirrels are now hunting prey, and they've now become carnivores. And that has never happened in history. When an animal goes beyond being a carnivore and grows in a form of consciousness beyond that and is a full-on vegan, because that's what they were for hundreds of thousands of years, and suddenly to turn into being a carnivore, you've got to ask yourself the question, how is that possible? I believe it's possible because of what's being sprayed in the air. And also, if we investigated all the burgers, especially McDonald's, the actual patty, we would find human DNA, mainly children, or all the dead bodies that the elite criminals have murdered and taken their bodies, chopped them up, and mince them and put them into McDonald's patties. Because you know who owns McDonald's? It's the elite criminals. So anyone that actually eats McDonald's is eating children. And you are now a cannibal. The stuff they're spraying in the air is also causing people to become carnivores. And by eating human flesh, the DNA changes within your own genetics. And you can become, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, a carnivore or a cannibal. Now, let's ask ourselves a question. Who's responsible for the wars? Well, naturally, people will say governments or some sort of dictator. Well, that's true. But if you're told to go to war and you're told all this BS about who's the bad person, and you go to war and you start pointing your rifle and start shooting people dead, no matter who they are, you're actually a murderer because you don't understand anything better. But if you understood the truth to why wars exist, not because there is a massive difference in understandings or even our human brain, the level of our intelligence, all wars for so long have been about control and domination, making you, the soldier, male or female, a murderer. Now, there's no difference in, say, the animals. There's billions of animals murdered and slaughtered and their throats cut, their blood drained, their body parts all chopped up, and you eat them because you're a carnivore. So you are also a murderer of the animal kingdom because that was never meant to be. Never. It's a condition that has now been forced upon us because of wanting to make money. So ask yourself, who owns all these industries? It's the elite criminals. They're the highest when it comes to investments. And they're making hundreds, if not thousands, of billions of dollars. So they're all profiting. But now they're getting to a point where they're getting sick of making money. They want more. And what they want is to dominate and control. So they're creating more smaller wars and putting it out there that Israel and Iran are going to wipe out America through nuclear explosions. And that's their whole aim. They've now taken it upon themselves to want to create the Third World War. Why? So they can kill hundreds of millions and billions of people. So there might only be 10% left. And what they can do with that 10% is completely, through the military, dominate, control, change the DNA by creating half robot, half human. Now, that's a really sad thing because that's what wars are all about. It's not about going out there because some certain race are going out and just killing people. Now, that used to happen back in the Viking days. There were some really bad Vikings and other soldiers. They wanted to dominate. The Spaniards wanted to dominate. They wanted to control most of the world. But they lost through Genghis Khan. Now that's interesting. But now, in the last, say, 2,000-3,000 years, wars, or the creation of wars, has changed. And now here we are, joining armies, taking on all these drugs that they're putting into our bodies to change the way we think, so we don't have a heart to feel with. We become a human flesh robot. And it creates a certain type of anger that can be raised up in certain situations. I don't know the full story, but I know what's going on. And I know there are millions of other people on this earth that also know, but not many want to talk about it. We as a society, worldwide, should not be fighting. If we go on to worlds like, say, the Ilias on the planet Taurus, who are all ginger-headed, and they only have one species of race. They don't have what we have here on Earth, where we have the Europeans, we have the Asians, we have the Westerners, and all that type of thing. They don't fight amongst themselves. The Ilias, they never have. The Nicarons, from where I come from, don't fight amongst themselves, and they're 27 million years old in their own evolution. And they're 40, in fact, over 40 billion strong. If they wanted to go out and, say, take over 100 planets, they could do it with their technology. No problems. They could wipe out the entire civilization. But do they do it? No. What they do with my father, Kuntarkis, the one I said that's 19 billion years old in evolution, they go along and they try to communicate with the negative ones to try and come to some arrangement to change their way of thinking, because it's all in your thinking. And if they don't, and they just keep killing either father, Kuntarkis, or the Nicarons with other different worlds, they will just literally go along and basically wipe out all the negative energies and put the other ones that are left, the negative ones that they didn't kill, on a planet to try and get them to change. Most of the times they don't. My father, Kuntarkis, he believes that you give a species an opportunity. And if it works out within that species that the opportunity is positive, he allows them to be and grow in their own evolution and will help them in any way, like he does. But if there is a sector within that society or another race that has come in and mixed with them and causes so much negative chaos through murder, raping, terrorism, like it is on Earth, he actually can wipe them out just through his own mind, his own consciousness, because he is living energy. He has learnt to become that energy in the knowing, and he can utilize that energy to dismantle the atoms of a flesh body and return it to the pool of life and dissolve all the negativity forever, and all the memory are gone, and they will never incarnate again. And that's the interesting factor. So wars are a creation of egotistical, retarded, second-dimensional, pedophile criminals who want to dominate and control and do what they ever want. Now, at this moment, we have well over 411 million pedophiles on planet Earth. And a lot of them are narcissists, rapists of children, and also psychopaths. I even call them parasites. And they're going to be wiped out. Every single one of them in time. In fact, in the next 140 to 180, 190 human years, they will be gone. And the negativity within human society and all the issues we have with our governments will be gone. And no government will exist. And what will be formed is a new high councils throughout every sector of human society on Mother Earth, where humans can live in peace. Children can walk the streets in 100% safety and never, ever get kidnapped. In the year 2023 to 2024, well over 8 million children were kidnapped, disappeared. Who was behind it? The elite criminals. That's them creating a war against humanity. You have to ask yourself this question. What would a father and mother feel losing a young child or a young baby or a toddler? It would be heart-wrenching beyond all things. No one should have to suffer that. And yet, these filthy, dirty, perverted animals have no feeling of heart whatsoever. None. They don't even feel for their own children because they don't have a heart. And if they had a heart, they would never create a war that kills and blows up and rips bodies apart from that devastation. And yet, they can't wait to kill off 90% of the human race so they can control the rest. And that's really sad. Now, Bill Gates, going back to Mr. Bill Gates, he thinks he's got away with everything. He thinks that nothing can touch him. Just recently in UK, his vehicle was basically surrounded and rocked really badly. And a lot of the police around didn't seem to do a lot about it. But they just tried to keep it so nothing could happen. And it really hit him. The funny thing is, in Dutch or Holland, the courts are going to try and have him forced to come to their country to stand on trial for all the things that he has done to humanity. And the funny thing is, because a piece of paper was signed that relieves him of anything that he may have done, even mass murder, which is really sad. But the interesting factor is they've discovered that there are laws that now will make him come forward and be responsible for what he has done. They found those laws. And if any CEOs of the pharmaceutical companies, any government officials, be it a president or prime minister or whoever, or even the people from the health department, the CEOs, they also will be charged and end up in jail for the rest of their life. That is happening. That's humans waking up and causing a physical type war to bring things back into balance. Now ask yourself this question. The way you live now, even if you live in comfort, do you feel it is the right way of living with a monetary system where we have to keep paying bills and the governments can raise everything up every single year or suddenly out of nowhere? And there are billions of people, probably about 3 to 4 billion, I should say, that are really suffering worldwide with what is causing them to suffer. And that is the governments putting up the prices because the World Health Organization, through the elite criminals, tell them to make it harder for us so we only think about our devastation, our issues, our problems, not about growing consciously. You take all that away in being able to grow in consciousness, you lose it. And you stay at a certain level of thinking, which holds you down. And that's the sad part. That's why they're putting children's flesh being minced and put into burgers, McDonald's. And it can be proven so easily. If anybody goes in there, buy a burger, and if you've got someone that you know that can do testing, they'll find DNA. And the more people who do that, we can create a backlash against these elite criminals and put them where they belong, underground, forever. Now, I have a new episode coming out with Michael Yon, the interviewer, in the next week or so, which probably take about 2 weeks to go up or 3 weeks. I haven't come up with the title yet, but what's occurred, and it has been on some of the episodes, but what has occurred, these 7-dimensional beings called the Nipulans have been watching me very closely for years in the things that I am trying to do. And when they saw me manifest in spirit world, which is 4th dimensional, a building that stands 287 feet tall, 120 foot square, they were quite interested. And when they found out I built this dome, that I've been putting very negative spirits, mass murderers, people who are terrorists, all that type of stuff, who pedophiles, into it on a very slow scale. And then I literally vaporized over 3,000, where my father helped me with that, to concentrate on living energy and to believe in my own consciousness that I'm living energy and that I can literally do that in a vibration that's 4th dimensional, because anything, and I mean anything, is possible in that dimension. But we are never taught that because the elite criminals have put fluoride into our drinking water. So it encases our pineal gland, and our pineal gland is only small, under the brain, around the brow, and if you went inside your brain, it's just sitting under the brain. That little pineal gland, it can communicate with beings from other dimensions, other vibrations, other realms, other worlds, other universes. It is so powerful. If you connect your brain, which is human, the human brain, to your pineal gland, to your mind, to your imagination, you will connect to what created you. And it's not a God. That's fiction. To your soul that created you as a facet, which makes you a spirit. And that spirit is within you. And without that spirit, you will not exist as a flesh body unless you were created into artificial intelligence where they fully control you. But you are an individual, and that pineal gland needs to be opened up by dissolving the casing of fluoride. And we need to stop the governments from putting fluoride within the waters, within everything, within toothpaste, even the cord dental floss, even the dental floss that you clean your teeth with has fluoride. And what they're doing now, they're putting the covert crap that was in the injections into the dental floss. And when you clean your teeth, it goes into your saliva, into your brain, and throughout your body. causing the same situation. That's the sad part. So look at it this way. The elite criminals have not only created all the wars, they have also created the war against humanity to annihilate you. And that's something we need to wake up. This is not fantasy. This is reality. And we each need to wake up to that reality by growing consciously and fully aware of our surroundings. That every war that has been created throughout humanity, especially the last 928,000 years, has not been a benefit to us. It was created on purpose to wipe us out, just like the Second World War. Over 69 million people were murdered. And all those soldiers that did all the killings are also responsible, no matter what. And their karma will force them to reincarnate over and over and over again. And the karma must be brought into balance, 100% positive, so we can move on as a conscious being to higher realms of understanding and grow like a civilization like the Muhas that I know, like the Ilias, like the Nakarons, like the Doricans, and so many more. I mean, there is a civilization, the Hemazines. The Hemazines, who are the vampires that came to this earth hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And they were using us as food supply. And there's all these stories. And they made movies out of them. And they could transcend out of their bodies and literally still attack us. And they had the power to influence us through hypnosis and bite us and suck our blood. But you know the funny thing is, they don't do that anymore to intelligent beings. What they have done, which is absolutely amazing, and there's an episode on them that Michael and I have done about the vampires. And the interesting factor is they removed thousands and thousands of trees, of the soil earth, of the waters, and rocks, and they have recreated these types of atmosphere on their barren planet. And they now have also taken elephants, all vegetarian only, elephants, rhinos, giraffes, all those types of animals that are vegetarian, that are large, and they look after them better than what we look after our children. And that's no joke. They're pampered. And what they do, they draw out blood. But they feed them, they care for them, and it's like the animals now have adapted. I've seen it. They've adapted to that form of consciousness, and they allow it without an issue. So the animals live in jungles, and when they're called through vibration, it's a sound like you do like a dog whistle. They come, and they're milked, their blood, and the blood's kept, and then it's consumed. And that's the only form of food they eat. And what they discovered about humanity, which is really scary, when they were drinking the blood of humanity, within hours of being back in their bodies, they died. And they were becoming sick. They were taking humans back to their planet for food sources. And they didn't realize until someone did, and it wiped out not quite half of their population because of the bacteria that is within the human body, because we are carnivores. Well, I'm not, but a carnivore. And when you're a carnivore, You have all sorts of ill health, but you are unaware because they're forcing that type of lifestyle onto you through supermarkets and many other ways, I can tell you, subliminal thoughts. So that society, the Hemazines, are now living consciously in a very happy state. They don't have to go to beings like us. They have a world that now is covered in jungles, and the amount of animals that have been bred from the ones they have taken from planet Earth is just incredible. And they live in peace. So we also can live in peace. But what we have to learn to do is come to grips with the violence that is occurring through the elite criminals creating wars through our governments, and stop it and say no more. Because that is control. That is domination. Changing the way we think as a free individual, taking away our rights. Killing is murder, no matter how you look at it. Defending yourself, that's perfectly well, because you have every right to defend yourself. And we have every right to change this world into something positive, not the way it is now, negative. So think about it. War is 100% negative because it's created for negative purposes, negative reasons by the elite criminals through governments. And it's been happening for 928,000 years. Now, all the wars that were created prior to that were not really us as human species. We were here, but it was created by all these over 200 different alien species. And that was the amazing thing. They fought massive, massive battles. Ships were being blown up in space all the time. The fights, the killings were incredible. And so many humans suffered by it. And then there were the aliens who pretended to be gods. And through their forms of pretend religion, created religions over humanity to live by through conditioning, which was domination. But all of that for the last 41 million years has been recorded by a race called the Nipulans. And they have shown me a lot of it. And the funny thing is, when they take me to their world, they create me into physical substance in appearance. And I can literally read through their unbelievable type of computers and see what occurred on Earth all those millions and millions of years ago. It is absolutely incredible. So war, no matter what it is, no matter who creates it, is a negative aspect for any species who wants to grow in their own evolution consciously. It destroys your consciousness. It destroys your self-awareness. And that's the sad part. And we end up never, ever knowing who we truly are. And the funny thing is, we are a heart being. And all these elite criminals have destroyed the connection to our hearts. And we've become numbed out. We don't even know what the real meaning of love is. None of us feel love. And the love we feel is a conditional love because of all the tragic things that have occurred, not only through the elite criminals over the thousands of years, but also the wars, because of the guilt we carry in our own karma. And until we learn to balance ourselves, we'll never balance the karma through forgiveness of the heart. And we'll never experience heart love, which is unconditional. And the only love we live at this time is conditional love through the human ego of self-conditioning. War is negative.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Kuntarkis. This concludes another episode of Kuntarkis. If you'd like to find out more about Kuntarkis, find his website, which is etcconsciousness.com. He has articles there, he has his books listed there, and also if you have any reason to contact us in general for any reason, just email kuntarkis@gmail.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.